Welcome to Live Line Electrical, and today we will review an EICR and what actually an EICR should not look like. A lot of potential clients call me if I could quote for an EICR, and they do find my quote to be rather more expensive. Today, I would like to show you what the cheap EICR looks like and why should you avoid it, because it's a waste of your money, waste of time, because they are just using the scare tactics and this document, which is a legal document, to get in and do loads of unnecessary remedial works, which you don't need. Let's dive right in to this EICR, which, as you can see, it has been completed not long ago. So I am going to navigate to do my best, and here you can see that the actual EICR was completed on 14th of August. So basically, I'm going to just navigate through it as quickly as we can. The first initial part of the EICR is the information about the contractor that did the work, you as a client, and where it actually happened. If we scroll down, this will be a summary of the installations, just some information. This is very important for you as a client to understand whether the actual certificate is satisfactory or unsatisfactory. If it has been found to be unsatisfactory, you need to be given the reasons why it hasn't been satisfactory. So let's get started. So just some information about the inspection and testing. The second page, which is very important for us, it's that one. I am just going to zoom in, but here we go. That's the observation. And here we've got a few observations. So allow me to just explain that you don't need to be an electrician to understand that this has all been explained right in there. What are the observation means and what class codes they are. So code C1, we can see here down the bottom, there is no C1 present, but we'll get to it. So C1 is a present danger, and what it means is if there's a live cable sticking it out, live cable present somewhere that you're gonna immediately, when you're just touch or exposed to it, you are at danger of electric shock. That is C1, so very dangerous condition. C2 is it's the code that there need to happen something, so that potential dangerous, where if something happens, then you're exposed to that danger. So that could be an earthed connection, that could be reverse polarity in your socket. It could be lots of other items as a C2. We can see that from the list below, we got quite a few C2s. We're going to discuss these in a moment. But C3, it's a recommendation. So this is where we just have a recommendation from an installer, where this is not necessarily need to be addressed, just recommendation for this to be addressed at some point. That doesn't fail your certificate. But FI, which is right there, which is a further investigation, this will actually fail your certificate, because as an inspector, if we are going to audit your property for electrical safety, we need to understand if we can access actually all of the aspect of your installation. And if we cannot, because there might be a massive wardrobe in a way, there could be a junction boxes in the floor, then if the installation has been wired where all the junction boxes are being hidden under the floors and there are only single cable on the ring mains, it's coming out to the sockets like 30 years ago and more, then we could put this as a further investigation required, because we are going to your property and we spend on average 3 to 5 hours on a single 3-bed property to just do the testing. That's the first sign where we would spend 3 to 5 hours on site, plus going through a certificate, and actually even I have to go through it again to make sure that everything is complete, is validated, and I can actually sign for and send to you as a customer. And if other people are able to do this within an hour or two, then obviously they're not doing their job properly. That's the first sign if your EICR was completed correctly. So on this occasion, let's just review those points that were marked here. So the first one is consumer unit not to 18th edition or fire rated. So the fire rating has been introduced. It's for a reason. It's C3. It's been coded C3 by this gentleman here. So that's fine. I absolutely agree. This is just a recommendation. The fuse board can be upgraded, no problem. No SPD or AFDD, point number two. It is SPD has been introduced as a surge protection device and has been introduced about 2 years ago or more. Time is flying. And this is required for new consumer unit upgrade. So if there is no SPD or AFDD and the person is coming to order the property, obviously these things are that you're auditing the installation as it is. And if this is old fuse board, there wouldn't be any SPD or AFDD. So you're not essentially marking it down for this. But he hasn't. He has on the person who ordered this property, he only put a C3. I agree with that. Number three is no signs of earth from National Grid or Earth Road. So there are three types of earthing in England. One of them is coming on the back of a neutral, TNCS, terra neutral separate combine. There is also TNS, which comes directly from the TNS and called PME, protective multiple earth. When the supply comes to your property, it's earth of multiple points before it comes to your house. And the earth is taken from the actual lead or other conductive material around the cable that is coming to your property. And the third earthing system is TT. That means earth electrode or steel metal structure or any other conductive parts that could be earthed and used as your own earthing system, not provided by DNO or your service provider. So C2, I would agree with that, but actually this is more of a quite dangerous because if there's no earthing at all, then it is a very dangerous state. But I've not been to this property, so the client only just contacted me if I could give him costs to do the work. And actually, I'm like, this certificate is worthless. But let's carry on. So C2 for no earth. Earth is a means of a basic protection. So if there is no earth, then definitely there's a C1 danger. So I don't agree with this. No signs of earth to gas meter. Number four. Gas meter. So in most of the installations, gas is coming into, well, all of them should be coming into a conductive pipe, usually copper. These are essentially woodwork, almost like the earth rod, but we can't solely rely on them as an earth rod because they're not tested to do that function, but they're coming from the ground. So they should be bonded to the earthing. And actually on this occasion, it looks like couldn't be found any signs of bonding being completed. C2, and I would agree, C2 here. Let's move on to socket under stairs, wired in 1 millimeter cable on a 16 amp trip breaker, I would say. C2, fine. It shouldn't be. I think the 1 millimeter cable would happily withstand 13 or 15 amps. So we shouldn't run any circuits using 1 millimeter cable. That's for sure. It's not adequate here. Ground floor sockets has no continuity, and let me just make sure. Ground floor sockets has no continuity, and that's C3. And totally do not agree with this. That should be C2, because if there's no continuity and they are on 32 amp breaker, then it's a C2. We'll double check those sockets. So it's ground floor sockets, 32 or 20. So we will find out if this should be a C2 or C3. Shower cable has exposed wiring. Well, definitely it should be a C2 because it's not acceptable. All the wiring should be properly not exposed, properly concealed and terminated at each point. And number 8, circuit 7, 32 amp supply to a washing machine and dishwasher on 2.5 cable. And again, C2. But this is a kitchen circuit, so let's just mark the kitchen circuit. I'm just making myself notes as I'm going to go through this certificate to tell you. If you got a ring circuit in a property and cable from an isolation switch, which is should be a 13 amp isolation switch, then single cable goes to the socket behind a dishwasher or washing machine, and that's pretty standard. But let's carry on and continue. Shower supply has 40 amp trip on 6 mil cable, C3. Not ideal. The 6 mil cable will happily withstand 40 amps depending how long is the cable and how it's been installed. But because I don't know that one, it's been only recommended. I would agree here if we don't know how powerful the shower is actually. So he hasn't mentioned if it's an 8 kilowatt, 9 or 10 kilowatt shower. Because if it was a 9 kilowatt shower, then I would say like no. But if it's an 8.5 kilowatt shower, then we'll be like okay, depending how what's the distance and how the cable is being installed. Because the longer the distance, and if the cable is within more than 100 millimeter of insulation, that cable will be hot, very hot when someone puts the shower on, because it will work at its absolutely maximum capacity. And also because of the extra insulation, it will not dissipate the heat from the cable, and it would degrade how much capacity that cable actually would stand. So socket boiler, socket in the boiler cupboard faulty. Further investigation. How difficult is to open a socket? I don't know, but well, if it's faulty, when we go to a property, we have to do a sampling, and we have to agree how much of a sampling we are going to do with the client, whether this is 10%, 5, 20%, 25, or whatever of all of the items that you have within a property. That could be one of those 10% or 20% that he could open and actually verify whether this is just a socket that needs to be replaced, which is very straightforward and simple. But actually, he's already failing you just for the socket and all the other C2s that you got here. But let's move on. So just below, it's a summary of the points that you will need to adhere to, which are mandatory, and some of them just a recommendation and further investigation. So just a nice summary, so you don't need to look up if you don't want to. Here we go. Wow. So he's actually, this is the sampling. He has said that he actually checked and opened and verified 50% of accessories inspected. I've never done 50. I always do 10 or 15. On a small flats, I may do 25% because physically it is very time consuming to open. We are actually opening light switches and lights as a part of the testing anyway, which counts to our 10, 15, or 20% of sampling. But we're also opening the sockets, and especially like shower isolation switches, cooker sockets, the ones that are really vulnerable for loose connections because they are high current use appliances. So these are the ones that would warm up the cables quite significantly as opposed to the lights. So he has, this person said that they've, as far as I remember, the client telling me they only been there for a couple of hours, inspecting 50% of all accessories. To me, it is actually impassable. So it is quite impossible for me to to say that this was done 50%. No way, no way. In average property, we've got between 40 to 120 electrical accessories. He wouldn't open 30 to 60, I doubt. So that's blatant obvious lie. Here are some information about the supply itself and what exactly is happening. So this will be quite interesting. Let's just zoom in. Information about the overcurrent protection. That's fine. This is the one. So here we go. This test right here, earth loop impedance test, external earth loop impedance test. This test requires earth to be done. So forgive me, I'm laughing, but I think he just, in a previous page, he said that we don't have the earth. Where is it? No signs of earth from National Grid or earth rod. And yet we have such a low reading, which is good. Low is good. So it's a low resistance. Such a low reading for earth loop impedance. And earth loop impedance is the fault path of how much resistance is on that path for the fault to travel. And you need the earth to actually carry out this test. So that is just like, what is going on here? unbelievable. He's contradicting himself now. But you as a client, you wouldn't know that because he's using the scare tactics. And I think client paid £170 for this EICR, and is already worthless because it's carry on. Let's carry on. But, okay, here's just the particulars of the installation referred in this report. So let me just zoom in. The types, so earth, electro, so means of earthing, distributors facility. So there is earth. You've just ticked for it. So what's going on? Okay, he actually said the earthing conductor next to it is copper and is made of 10 millimeter. So that's where it says, ladies and gents, here, that's the point when I said about bonding. And we actually have a bonding, it's 10 millimeter, and he has verified its continuity. So how come this person verified its continuity, but actually said that there's no sign of earth to gas meter? But he has. Let's just actually see to a gas installation pipes and water. Look, main protective bonding connection. So it is or it isn't. Exactly. So question mark. Sorry, number two, question mark number two. That's what I had in my mind. And question mark here again. Oh my God. Okay, so that's three, on three occasions, he's just contradicted himself on this EICR. We know it's a big BS, this document that he has completed for this client, but let's carry on. So this is every electrician's nightmare because we physically have to go through every point and tick it. And in majority of installations, I would never be able to tick all of it because it doesn't apply. But here, I'm glancing through. There's a few items that are not relevant. But well, let's just carry on. Right there, we talk about the intake of the service cables. So, how good is the coming in? So, earthing arrangement here again. He said he's just clicked. He just confirmed in a third place that the earthing is good. Yet his observations, the ones that he's using to scare you, it says they're not. Something is really, really bad, really wrong with this guy. Maybe he was on his bad day. Maybe he's always on his bad day. So if we use any solar panels or power generations, method of protection, main earthing and bonding arrangement. Again, that's the fifth time now. Here, it's not. So that's five. For the fifth time, he contradicted himself again. And here we go. So look, how many times we actually have to click that something it is okay, because there's not only one aspect to the earthing. There's so many. Not only the presence, but the size, how it's connected, how it's marked, all of that. We really need to make sure that we actually check this. So here and there, the connection and the size of it, he actually said they are okay. So man, you shouldn't be doing this job. Main protective bonding conductor sizes, it's okay. And connection, again. So I've lost the count now. I think more than 10 at this time. So accessibility of bonding connections. And again, so I've seen this many times before. There's no point continue because there'll be just so many points. So on this occasion, I know this is just a document. He's not even completing properly. He's just copy and pasting the old certificate, just amending the client details. And I'm not sure if he's even updating this accordingly as he should, the observations. But let's carry on. This is the second page that we have to complete. It's a daunting task, but we've got to do it. This is our job, and this is what you pay us to do. And third one again. So it's a lot, but we've got to do this for you. That's what you've paid. That's what you asked me to do. Okay. This is the actual work we carried out physically as in testing. So the results of test, and it should be over 2 pages. Just wanted to point out about ground sockets, 32 amps, because there was no continuity on those ground sockets. So circuit number 3, sockets ground floor, There's a 14 sockets in 2.5 cable. That all looks good, all looks fine. So that's fine. So we need to remember is number 3, because the actual results of test are on the second page. So here we are, circuit number 3. So he hasn't completed the green continuity because he said it's none. There is no continuity on those. So that was, yeah, basically he should be completing this. Whether it's, yeah, okay, I don't know. He hasn't. He hasn't completed anything R1 or R2 on any of these sockets. So this is the earth path that we check for all of your circuits, but he hasn't done any of it. This is just copy and paste from his previous tests. He hasn't done your maximum disconnection time. Sorry, yeah, maximum earth ZS test, which is earth loop impedance for every circuit. None of it has been completed. He hasn't even completed the RCD testing. I'm not sure if there is an RCD, but he hasn't mentioned there is an RCD, so he hasn't completed that. And well, test button. So there is an RCD for those 4. Sorry. So this should be a result of test. And again, you pay him the money and you think he's going to go and do the job, but actually it's very appalling because he's just stealing from you by not doing his job properly. So really, really bad. And here you go. This is the notes for the recipients. You should be receiving all of the 10 pages that that comes with the document. So this is page number 9, and something's gone wrong on that page, but there's 10 pages of the EICR document, and it outlines everything that you as a client should be given and you should receive, basically. So yeah, here we go. A worthless piece of document for which my client pay £170, and for a 3-bedroom property, we charge just a little bit more, and we can give you a document that would outline an observation. It will be a reference point to specific regulations that we would code the item and why. What's the reason? And also, in the money that you pay us to carry out the EICR, it is also the follow-up call to actually go through a certificate. So you don't just being sent this document and this worthless piece of document like this guy. You're being sent an actual verification of your installation, and we follow up to let you know what needs to be done, what's wrong, and does it need to be done, and whether you can wait. We'll tell you how soon do you need to do this by, and we can genuinely advise. So if you need your EICR to be completed in your property, give us a call, write to us, use the direct message, and see you soon. Thanks for watching.